Hello, everyone. Such a beautiful sunny day outside, perfect for another Meet the Team episode. I know you were expecting Andrea, but you got me instead, so I'm sorry. But yeah, I'm Mihna, community lead at Oasis, and I'll be hosting this Meet the Team episode. Usually Andrea hosts this, but she's out. She's out of office, so I'm doing it today. Welcome, everyone. I'm happy to have you all here. I highly encourage you to ask any questions you might have during this call. We'll try to answer every question at the end of the episode. But yeah, as usual, I wish you have a very good time. In this Meet the Team episode, we'll get to meet Marko, one of our newest team members. Marko, could you introduce yourself to our community?
Yeah, of course. I know. I mean, I love Andrea, but I'm happy to see you too, Michna. And I'm sure we're gonna have a bit of fun. Yeah, I'm Marko Stokic, based out of Germany, and I joined the Oasis team in April. And it's been quite the ride, even though it's been so short.
It has been. It has been. You've been very busy, and I think some of our community members already are aware of your presence in the online space. You've hosted a couple of Twitter spaces. You've been at conferences, but for the rest of us, could you describe the role you're currently occupying at Oasis?
Yeah, of course. So when I joined, I was just told like, "Hey, do AI." So I was like, "Okay, let me see what AI actually means in crypto because it's still a very nascent market. We're just kind of trying to combine these two worlds of off-chain intelligence, AI, and then on-chain kind of verifiability, decentralization. But no one is really sure on what to do. So I was just like researching a ton in the beginning. And fortunately, Oasis is very transparent. So I was able to share all of this kind of knowledge and insights that I get it. We released a market map, I think in June, which kind of showed 100 projects in this crypto XAI space across different verticals. And it was very apparent that there was a concentration in like decentralized compute or some creative applications using ChatGPT APIs. And then obviously some L1s and L2s like Oasis trying to position themselves in this space. In general, it's a lot of networking. Like I'm connecting with most of the founders within the space to explore, hey, what are you actually building on chain? And then it's a lot of educational work, like explaining to projects how can you use Sapphire, our confidential EVM, because on-chain confidentiality unlocks quite a few unique use cases for those projects. So in the past months, I built lots of the ground partnerships with different projects to kind of have an ecosystem ready once we have dApps that want to deploy. And the first one is actually has received a grant and they're actually building something on chain, which I'm really excited about.
Which is the first one?
OMO. We
Ah,
haven't
okay,
announced
okay.
yet, but it's gonna be very soon. Yeah, we're exploring it quite a bit.
And I know we announced a couple of other projects. I don't know how much the partnership has happened already. How if there's any infrastructure in place already. I know we spoke about rivals, about Ether, about. I think you had a Twitter Spaces with 01, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, we were just looking at this kind of AI stack in crypto to see, hey, which are the relevant segments and who should we have as a partner. So, for example, Aethir, it's one of the biggest decentralized compute platforms, marketplaces, and they offer compute grants to their projects. So it's definitely something where we want to encourage our projects building on Sapphire to utilize their compute to get potentially a grant from them for the compute. But the similar setup can be done with different providers as well. You mentioned Rivals. It's a kind of data intelligence platform. Very similar. It's super important piece of tech for the agent space. So anyone that wants to build some on-chain agents on Sapphire, and there's quite a few reasons to do so, can utilize them for kind of data feeding of the agents.
You know how I see this, like your role. I think it's similar to Will's role. Will is
Mhm.
trying to piece all the puzzles for the regular infrastructure, like bringing in the RPCs, blending, all of that. and you're trying to build the AI vertical, the puzzle pieces for the AI infrastructure.
Pretty much, except that his, I assume, is 10 times more complicated because it's so much bigger. Like he has to build the ground partnerships for a blockchain ecosystem, and mine is very specific for the AI one. Like everyone needs compute, everyone needs data, everyone needs models, everyone needs kind of, or should need on-chain confidentiality, but I'm sure we will talk about it. So I'm quite happy that I don't have his role.
Will's been around in the space for a long time.
Yeah, you can tell.
Um, but do you, you know what I want to know? What got you like? What made you do the transition from traditional Web 2 space to Web 3? Um, what did you do before joining our project? Because I know you've been working with another project before joining us, right?
Yeah, for sure. I've been working for quite a bit, so I'm older than I look. I actually have a similar story to many here. I joined the crypto space in 2017. It was right after my bachelor. I somehow got my hands on the Bitcoin white paper. I would really love to know why, but I read it and it just clicked. I don't know. I instantly knew, like, hey, this is how it should be, even though I was never a big fan of Bitcoin, to be fair. And I'm going to get lots of hate from Bitcoin maxis, but it just felt very limited to me. And then I quickly, obviously, learned about Ethereum. And I was like, damn, yeah, this is exactly what I was kind of thinking about, having this infrastructure where you can build stuff on top and not just have this decentralized network for payments or store of value, which I think, again, is quite a bit limited. Um, so I canceled all my internships that I had planned for a gap year, and I moved back to my parents' place and just kind of spent a lot of time in their basement researching different projects at the time, like Ethereum, Chainlink, everything that was like top 20, 30. I read all of the white papers, got into coding, and I had like this hyper productive time that I still like to think back about. But then we all know what happened early 2018. It crashed, and I just didn't have a connect to get into the space. I think that was like my lack of expertise with the startup world and crypto world. Like I wasn't super active on Discord. I don't even remember that there was Discord at the time. So I didn't have a connect to any of the projects to actually join. So what I did is just like, hey, I don't have anything else to do. I'm gonna do my masters. That's what I did. I went to like good business school, finished it there, and then actually joined a venture capital fund in Munich. Spent a couple of years there. We did B2B enterprise tech investments in early stage, which was nice. It's a very privileged job, but it's also quite hands off. At least it was too hands off for me. I really like kind of working on problems, seeing the results instantly. And venture capital was for me just like lots of DD, and then who am I to tell a founder on what he should do, etc. So I moved out of there after a couple of years and joined a decentralized identity startup, which was tons of fun. Learned a lot, had a very kind of unique position as founder's associate, which not many people know what it is. They just think it's a fancy assistant title. But for me, it just meant, hey, whatever idea I had that I feel like is good for the project, I was able to execute, and kind of had a team that I could utilize to try new product features, new marketing strategies, and everything. And it was definitely lots of fun, but just after like I think a year and a half, there wasn't too much for me to do. And I knew a couple of people from the Oasis team. I met Matej, I think last year, EFCC in Paris, and I met also Harry, our product manager. And I really enjoyed kind of talking with them and sparring some ideas. And that's when I told like Matej, hey, I'm actually looking for something new. And then he was like, hey, please don't sign anywhere. You should meet more of the team. And that's what I did.
You gotta love Matej for his initiatives. Like he reads people very well. I'm very happy that you joined us, and I totally understand because I feel the same way. Like, well, first of all, this is the best way to grow in Web 3. I think if you have the opportunity to join a startup, because you get to experiment with different things, you have your ideas heard. Um I think we're still in the discovery phase in this space. Everybody's just trying out different ideas in terms of marketing, community, product. So nobody has found the perfect recipe yet.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what I really appreciate at Oasis. Like I've been giving the freedom to just do what I think is helpful. And I have like an amazing team of smart people that are always open for like sparing of ideas. And that helps me a lot because I'm technical but not like super technical, and I can talk to people that are way smarter than me on different topics and just get their input and then kind of consolidate everything into a strategy. And that's been tons of fun for the past months.
Exactly. I think that's my favorite part at conferences, just talking to people that are smarter than me and
Sure.
putting all the ideas together. But yeah, that this was actually my follow-up question. Like, why did you choose our project out of all the other projects in the space?
So before I was like in a smaller startup, we were like 15, 20 people. And I was like, hey, I want to join something bigger, see this side as well, preferably on the ecosystem level, because I would really love to do like the groundwork on like ecosystem development. And I was always a privacy fan. So I don't know, many years ago, I learned from Shoshana Zuboff. If you know her, she wrote like a book on surveillance capitalism, explaining like how Google, Facebook, etc. are manipulating us with our own data, etc., and we get zero from it. So I was always very wary of privacy. And I was actually actively looking for something within this privacy and crypto space, talked to lots of the bigger ecosystems. But again, like I already knew some from the team of Oasis. They were super professional, and that picture just continued when I was talking or going through the interview rounds. I think I had three, and it was always incredibly professional, always on time, super responsive, and just, I don't know, very on point. Like every question I had, they were super transparent and just had the perfect answer ready. I was just super impressed, and that's actually the main reason why I joined. Like this professionalism, which isn't too common in crypto, unfortunately, and just very intelligent people.
I agree, and I think we have to thank Andrea a lot about this because she cares a lot about culture and
Yeah.
procedures. And uh, uh, I heard this from a lot of people we interview that we are very professional. You know, I love our team, so I totally understand why you joined.
Yeah, definitely. And culture is not easy to do in a remote setup. So that's why I'm always very impressed when we all meet at like conferences or retreats, and the other teams as well. They notice it. I've gotten this feedback many times like, hey, how do you guys do this? You guys are super chill, you're cool, you hang out even after all the side events for some drinks. Uh, I think it's quite unique.
Yes, I don't know. I think it was meant to be. Honestly, I don't believe in destiny, but I think our team was just meant to be. Like we all click together and we
Yes, I
support
think it's
each other,
special.
and yeah, it really is beautiful. So you mentioned AI, right? You're responsible for AI at Oasis. Um, could you tell us more, like, about exploring the intersection between Oasis and AI? Like, were you passionate about AI before? Were Did this just land in your lap?
Yeah, good point. So somehow it did always land in my lap, like not just at Oasis. Like I got very early access to ChatGPT 3. I think it was 2019, maybe 20, and I was experimenting with it for a bit. Like I work from a startup community here in Munich, and we were just like giving lots of prompts or input at the time to ChatGPT 3, which you needed to do for it to actually be useful. And we were giving it like create fighting stories between Son Goku and other characters, and it was just like very interesting to see what AI was capable to do at the time. But obviously, it was still very limited. And during my venture capital time, I was actually responsible for the AI vertical, so I did quite a few AI investments. It was lots of like transcription services, AI for HR analytics, and these corporate use cases. But you could never go super deep, unfortunately. Like once you include, for example, AI in recruiting, a German corporate will very quickly pull the plug on this because they're afraid that they're going to get sued, that someone is going to be discriminated. And rightfully so, to be honest. Like understanding AI decisions is still a big field. It's still not solved. Keyword AI alignment. So I definitely get it from their perspective. So I'm not surprised that it landed on my lap here at Oasis too. You asked regarding this intersection of like privacy or crypto privacy and AI. And it's quite interesting because not many people talk about it. And it's on us to educate people how on-chain confidentiality can help AI projects. So I mean, we all know, but many people don't know that Ocean built specifically on our chain the prediction platform Predictor that predicts like crypto prices 5 and 60 minutes into the future. They did it because there was not another EVM chain that could do confidentiality on chain. Everyone is working on like ZK, FHE, MPC stuff, but it's just not ready for dApps that are actually scalable, that are complex, that have lots of confidentiality needs outside of like private transactions. So it's mainly on me kind of to create content, to talk to people and tell them like, hey, you can have an AI model off chain and you post the inference results on chain, for example. Did I say it wrong? The model is off chain, and I think that's going to stay
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
But the inference results you post on chain because you want monetization, you want some smart contract flexibility to execute automatically, and that's what you can do with Sapphire. Like you post all of these things on chain, and then only if certain interactions happen, then someone gets access to the data, whatever this data is. Another use case that keeps popping up is, for example, in the agent economy. Whenever I talk to projects, they are like, yeah, we have agents. Yeah, the agents, they need private keys because they're signing messages in different EVM chains, even outside of EVM. And yeah, I store the private keys of those agents in localhost. And I'm like, why? Like we have a
Yeah.
substantial EVM. You can store private keys on chain in a smart contract, and then you trigger the smart contract to get the private key, and then you can sign messages on Sapphire, but you can also do cross-chain EVM message signing outside of our ecosystem because we have different bridging protocols. So these are
That's what Predictor is doing, right?
yeah, also, but that's what all the agent projects will be doing as well. Like they need private keys and they will need to kind of they need a way to store it, and that storage should be as secret or as secure and as decentralized as possible. So that's regarding kind of on-chain confidentiality, but that's just two of the use cases that are possible. And another big part is actually off-chain verifiability. What I meant in the beginning, like we are combining this off-chain world of AI with the on-chain world, but everything that happens off chain, we are actually not verifying, which is a bit weird for us in crypto because crypto was built like on decentralization and verifiability. But currently, we just want the off chain intelligence because it's so powerful, which I totally get. But we need to get to verifiability. And there's lots of work being done. There's stuff like ZKML, optimistic machine learning, and we are one of the teams pushing TEML, so trusted execution ML. TEs are obviously our kind of bread and butter. That's where we are the experts, what we've been doing for many years, which fortunately is getting quite a positive sentiment in the ecosystem, which is nice for us, but also surprising. Like we were getting lots of hate for TEs for very basic reasons because people just want to work on complicated things. That's my biggest takeaway from all my time in crypto is like very few people actually want to build stuff. They just want to work on difficult problems, solve them, and then go to the next problem instead of like using what we have, for example, TEs for confidentiality on chain and building stuff that is required today. But fortunately, we do have lots of founders that are building on our chain and utilizing this. So yeah, kind of to summarize, we have this on-chain confidentiality, unlocks some pretty unique use cases that are not possible on any other blockchain, and we have the off-chain verifiability, but that's where most of the work still needs to be done because many people just kind of tend to ignore it.
I agree with you, and I saw like TEs are getting a lot of traction lately, which is very surprising.
Yeah.
Because as you said, like they got a lot of hate for nothing. Basically, like people didn't trust Intel, which is really that's that's the main point.
Yeah, we don't want
Did
to
you
trust
see?
Intel, but we trust all the hyperscalers that host all of the nodes and all of the infrastructure.
Exactly, exactly. And you see people at the conferences like I don't do BD as you, so I'm not in touch with a lot of projects. But I see people that are surprised that they can already do this with Sapphire,
Yeah.
because all they heard about was ZKs and FHE and
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, Sapphire has been in production for more than a year. It's a confidential EVM, but just not too many people still know about it. So it's definitely on us. Like that's where we messed up as kind of an ecosystem. We need to educate people more, show them more. But that's definitely what we're working on. I think everyone on the
yeah.
team is working on explaining to people like, hey, this is already here. You can use it today, and it unlocks use cases that are not possible anywhere else.
I agree. I agree. I agree. And I know everything is evolving at an incredibly fast rate in this industry. So where do you see us positioned in the future? Uh, what's our potential in your perspective?
So currently, it's going to be about implementing TE for different things that are just that's currently not being used for. Like again, people are working on ZK snogs, which work today. It's amazing what you can do with them to kind of prove something within one round compared to like traditional ZK, but it's still too far away to be actually usable. So where I see Oasis is definitely on the forefront of like on-chain privacy and showing to others how you can use TEs as part of the stack. It doesn't need to be exclusively TEs. That's what many people think, and we're like, hey, even in our ecosystem, like yes, our confidential EVM is built on TEs, but we can expand this. We can actually implement ZK. We can implement MPC, like what we're actually doing with threshold encryption. It's also called chirp, which everyone can check out, where we use some MPC methods to kind of have a more secure secret sharing. And that's something that we will definitely be speaking to many projects about, like showing how you can use TEs for defense in depth. And then, since it's kind of my space, specifically in the AI world, it's going to be showing the use cases that are possible that we talked about a second ago that won't be done anywhere else because you need on-chain confidentiality and definitely the off-chain verifiability. I think that's where we need to do most of the work because it's still not generating that much value for people to care that it's verified. So currently you create on-chain a compute job, you send it to a compute provider or a node, it doesn't matter, but it's not a crypto node to be clear. That node kind of takes your input, uses it on a LLM, computes the results, sends you back the inference. You don't know what they did with the data that you sent them. You don't know if they actually used this as an input, if they used it on the model that you expect them to, and that the result that they sent you back is actually what was computed. So you expect them to use the newest Llama version that was released recently with 405 billion parameters. And actually, they use something like very small that's way cheaper for them for computation, but also gives you theoretically like a worse result. And that's something that's still missing in the space to verify what's actually happening off chain.
Okay, so that's a very important use case, and that's what we're concentrating on at the moment.
Yeah. To show
Okay,
people that they should care about it and that we can enable this. Like full transparency, currently it's quite limited what you can do with TEML. So TEs generally run on CPUs. Most projects like us, they use Intel SGX CPUs, and doing like AI compute in SGX CPUs is obviously limited. It's limited by the nature of a CPU. And that's where we are expanding our kind of architecture into having compute nodes that run TDX. And Intel TDX can be connected with NVIDIA H100s, for example. And then suddenly you can have like a secure enclave, a TE that goes like that includes a CPU and a GPU, and then you could run full LLM compute jobs within a secure enclave. And that's kind of our big vision for this space.
I agree. I agree, and your name mentioned this as well. Like, uh, the more you develop the encryption technology, the better, and the more flexible you can be.
Yeah, that
Okay.
he's the one working on it. Like Yane, founder and director of Oasis, he's the brain behind kind of, we call it Ruffle, runtime off-chain logic, and that's what I mean with TML. And he's building on this high speed, and I'm quite excited to see once it's out.
Yeah, I think everyone is, and it will unlock uh, basically everything for us. Um, but technology aside, Marco, I want to know who Marco really is. Like, what do you do in your free time? What are your passions? Tell me more about you.
Ah, there's a lot, and maybe there's not even that much. So I do like lots of the regular stuff. For me, gym is very important. I very early on, when I was 18, had like a big problem with my back, and I learned quickly that I'm not Superman. Like, I need to take care of my body. So I go to the gym very regularly. Try to do lots of sports outside of gym though. I generally go like at least once a week to beach volleyball, play quite a bit of paddle. Actually, meeting some friends tomorrow evening for some games, and swimming. So I used to always swim quite a bit. I don't know if I have like a big passion outside of crypto, which is sometimes quite tiring because like you do what you love, but then you do it so much that you kind of burn out. But I love reading, for example. So generally, I read like 5 books at the same time so that I never get tired of something. Like if I feel like a book I'm getting stuck, I just choose another one and continue there. Currently, I'm, for example, reading AI Alignment by, I think he's called Brian Christian, which kind of goes through this problem of not understanding LLMs and how risky it is to implement it because it has lots of bias. The world has bias, but this is amplified by AI models when we use them. And he kind of makes this very tangible and kind of explains how AI alignment is a technical problem that's still not solved, but we should be working on it. And I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, which is kind of the sacred scripture for lots of like Buddhist people, which just interested me. It's a very short story, but has lots of insights, and I'm just reading it for fun. Generally, someone once recommended to me Hugo Awards. So that's kind of a award that's given yearly to multiple books for best science fiction literature.
Oh, nice.
And I just go through the list of like past winners and just choose something and then read it. Like, I'm a big
That
fan of sci-fi.
that's a very good tactic. I haven't read sci-fi in a while. Like, but I read a couple of Stephen King books already, but you can't categorize those as sci-fi. So, but I have some Isaac Asimov lying around, which I haven't started.
Nice. It
But
also really helps in like envisioning a future with AI because many kind of utilize AI in spaceships, how they give them all the info and brings all the intelligence. Others kind of have really good robotics, etc. Like Isaac Asimov was obviously one of the first ones to get like the robotics laws and explaining like how we can live
I
with
know,
AI. So yeah, definitely helps.
I know. But I'm the same way as you. Like, I think I have like 6, 7 books started and none finished. I'm all over the place. Same with TV shows and movies. I start 5 series at the same time.
I think it's good because you always have something to read.
Yeah, and my ADHD helps with that. Like, I'm all over the place all the time. I need to do a lot of things simultaneously. Nice, nice, great passions. Reading is great. I think people don't read as much as they did in the past. So I'm happy when I hear that people read.
Yeah, it helps me quite a
But
bit. I learn a lot. I get lots of relaxation out of it, lots of new ideas. I'm very big on like self improvement, likely too much. Like, I always try to improve my routine even more perfect. So, for example, Atomic Habits was very interesting to go kind of into the atomic nature of habits and understanding like, hey, I'm doing this and it really works for me, but understanding why it works. Like, for example, what he explains, and I'm going quite a bit off topic, but it's like habit stacking. So if you already have a habit and you want to have a new one, you just connect it to the one that you're already doing. Like, you always brush your teeth, I hope. And I know since you have beautiful teeth, and then you just connect some calf raises in front of the mirror with it. Like you want to have bigger calves, so you just go in front of the mirror, you brush your teeth, and you do the calf raises. And at some point, it becomes a habit because you connect it to something that you always do anyways.
I know, and then I wouldn't categorize self-improvement books as literature because they're not. They're basically prescriptions that you read. Uh, I have a lot of friends who started reading this, and I tried some myself, and they can organize you. I'm not a very organized person, so they help me in this regard. I read some Tony Robbins, I read Atomic Habits, I don't know, a lot of self-improvement books, and if you can get a bit of information and can improve your daily routine, that's great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what can our community expect in the upcoming months?
I'm really excited about someone actually building something on chain. Like when you look at different chains, like not much is happening on chain. We're just using off chain intelligence to power some actions on chain, but what's actually built on chain is quite limited. So I'm really excited about this project that received a grant, and it will be building on chain agents that a use case is specifically for like yield farming strategies executed automatically with tokenized vaults where you as a user can hold shares of this vault and then you get the yield that an agent generated. It's quite cool. It's super
Mm.
technical, but kind of really in the spirit of what we want projects to do. And then in general, there will be quite a few more ground partnerships to have a very strong ecosystem of partners that can provide perks to our dApps that are building. And I guess more educational content. It's definitely something that I'm working on. I try to share whenever I have something that kind of enlightens me where I'm like, oh wow, this actually makes sense. And that's what I try to share. We share it via blog articles, etc., but also just like on Twitter whenever I have an idea.
We should align on this and build some things for the academy as well.
Ah, right.
We
Yeah,
ha-
definitely.
we have a couple of AI related lessons, but like really basic stuff. So maybe we can do something better for the
Yeah,
academy as
yeah, I'm
well.
up for it.
I need to organize it. First of all, it's a mess at the moment. Like we
You
have
organize it, I
around,
have knowledge, and then we'll do it.
yeah, that sounds perfect. How can the community get in touch with you, Marco?
I think Twitter is the easiest. So Marko with WIFK. That's kind of my Twitter handle. It's my public account. I wanted to have one that's connected to Oasis where people know, like, hey, he works for Oasis, he does the AI stuff because it just makes it way easier to reach out. I have my lurker private Twitter account that no one knows, and that's the way it should be. But yeah, that's my publicly facing account, and that's where you can reach out, and then we can very quickly jump on a call to see if we can work together.
Yeah, we all have lurker accounts. But I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that the Oasis AI ecosystem is growing, and we have good prospects for the future. And I think once Raffle is finalized and everything is ready, I think that will be a game changer for us.
Yeah, the first version is out on mainnet. We're just lacking the docs, but those will also be ready within 2 weeks, as far as I know. And then projects can already use it. The first version helps with verifying off-chain interactions via API and HTTPS. So that already is quite cool, but definitely the big one will be once we unlock TDX plus GPUs. I know lots of other TE experts are working on this, and no one has kind of properly figured it out yet. But it's definitely fun time to be in TE, and that's really going to be a game changer for lots of AI projects.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Okay, so we've kind of reached like those were my questions. But as promised, at the end, we do have some questions from the community. So I have like three questions here. First one would be, can we build on-chain versions of ChatGPT?
Um, Today, I would say no, but I think the more relevant part is like, hey, why do you want to do this? What's the problem with keeping it off chain as long as you can verify the compute? That's kind of what I've been repeating this whole session, I guess. And again, like, why do you care about it? Do you really just by some principle want everything on chain? Sure, I know some people are working on this to have like a very super scalable blockchain that can have um, full LLMs via sharding on chain. It's quite outside of like the normal realm of blockchains, where we actually try to do like less on chain and just have kind of have the relevant parts. But for example, many people, they dislike ChatGPT because it's not privacy preserving. Like, everything you do, you kind of feed more into OpenAI, you give them all data. They theoretically can create quite powerful profiles about you because some of the conversations with the ChatGPT interface are quite private, like, and not in a good manner private, but private because you talk about like problems with your partner, struggle at school, at work. I don't know. I'm sure if they kind of combine a profile out of my prompts, it could be a bit damning. But if that's your problem, there's already projects kind of working on a solution, like for example, Venice AI. It's built on the Akash network, and they kind of split the ChatGPT architecture into user separate from the prompt, and the prompt is separate from the compute job or the node that does the compute job. And that way, at least you cannot be connected to your prompt by the node provider that does the compute job. So it helps in kind of it's definitely an improvement in privacy for you.
I have not heard about this. I need to Google it about
Yeah, check it
Venice
out. It's
AI.
pretty cool. And actually, the results are super quick. Like many things, like if you do this in a decentralized manner, it's gonna take like a minute until you get your answers. But Venice does this quite smoothly, I have to say.
Nice, 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 nice. Yeah, I think in the end, like this question basically boils down to blockchains over like doesn't make sense to, and you can't put large data on blockchains like
Many are
in the
trying.
other databases. Yeah. Okay. Second question: what are some trusted sources to learn more about AI?
Hmm. I can just tell you how I learned about it. So I'm a big fan of the effective altruism community. I know they get some pushback, but they kind of had an initiative also for AI safety fundamentals. Definitely check it out. It's an AI governance group that talks a lot about doom, why AI is actually dangerous. But before you get to like, hey, what are the risks of AI? You first need to understand AI. So that's kind of what I did for many weeks. Is just like reading different research papers on like the AI triad, the AI scaling laws, how do LLMs actually work, what's a base model, what's a fine-tuned model, etc. And you get lots of kind of knowledge out of it. It's definitely something that I would recommend. And if there's like one content piece that everyone should check out, it's a YouTube video actually. So I don't know if you consider YouTube a trusted source, but Andrej Karpathy definitely is. He's like a former OpenAI engineer and worked on another big projects in the AI space. And he did a video intro to large language models, I think, but I'm sure we can also link it afterwards. And it's a 1 hour long video that explains like from very basic to or in very basic how you get like from data to a fine-tuned model that is as powerful as ChatGPT. What are the pieces that you need to get there? How much compute do you need? And he explains it really, really well. So if you only have 1 hour to research, do this. Uh, and also, I would always recommend everyone to try out the currently best models. There's always like these benchmarks, and it's very easy to figure out like, hey, who's good for what. Currently, Claude 3.5 is the best. At least it was before this new Llama version. So I'll have to check the new benchmarks. But I don't know. I mean, Llama is still a base model. So Claude 3.5, for example, is great. You can just spar some ideas with them. I actually yesterday had a long sparring session with Claude 3.5 regarding ZK because there was still some stuff that I was doubtful about. And we talked a lot about deterministic ZK proofs versus probabilistic ones. Can you even use deterministic ones? When does it make sense to use ZK even? How do snarks differentiate? So it was just like lots of education where I use AI as a teacher, and specifically like Claude 3.5 currently, but I still also have a ChatGPT subscription.
And you can actually ask AI to teach you about AI.
Yeah,
So
exactly. That's what I mean.
that's
Yeah,
another, yeah, exactly. And I think NVIDIA has some really nice beginner courses. I think they have an educational section
I haven't checked
on,
them out, but yeah, I'm sure they do.
yeah. Um, okay, last question. What are some AI bullshit concepts that are viral now?
Well, I have to be careful. At least one I can tell because Trent McConaughey. Is the podcast out when we're currently talking?
Not yet.
Yeah.
I think,
There will be a
I don't
podcast.
know.
I
I have,
that it's not a secret, and it's with Trent McConaughey, founder of Ocean Protocol, and thus also one of the founders of the Artificial Superintelligence Alliance. So very deep in the AI space, and one of the topics we talked about was cognitive AI, because we were just interested to hear his opinion, and he was like, "Yeah, don't spend much more time on researching it." Uh, I don't want to be very specific on his words, but that's one that that I would categorize here. But in general, like without hating on anybody, everyone should check out what is actually being built on chain. Like many people claim to be decentralized AI, to be in this intersection of crypto X AI, but what is being built on chain and deployed on chain is often quite limited. So if you want to kind of have a sensor for, hey, is this bullshit or not, just check out what they're actually writing in Solidity, for example. For what are they utilizing a different blockchain, and where is all the logic and execution of this logic? And that should be in smart contracts. So it's something that helps me, like thinking about, hey, which part of their architecture is actually on chain.
but it's normal, Marco, if you think about it, like, because this is where the money is at the moment.
Of course.
Both Web 2 and Web 3, like AI, is where the money is. So, of course, you can see
Yeah,
a lot of projects that are not actually doing anything on chain. So,
I know. And currently it's lots of marketing. Like I think I
yeah,
have like 5 requests per day regarding partnership announcements, but obviously we are very selective on who we want to partner with, because it needs to be reputable, it needs to be a benefit to the ecosystem, to dapps that are building on our chain. So one part I always check is like, hey, what's actually happening on chain?
I agree. I agree. Okay, Marco, this was the last question from our audience. Um, what are your closing thoughts for this session?
I'm really excited about what's coming in Oasis. I'm scared about what's coming with AI in general. I think we're getting towards like a new level of intelligence, especially if we're talking about ASI, which is even a new step in evolution. And I'm not sure if we're ready for it. I don't know how far it is. Like most say within like a decade. So I'm just enjoying the time that we currently have, as long as we have our jobs until AI is that smart that they can take it over. I think, fortunately, everyone in crypto has a few more years than, or maybe months, than other people, because crypto is always cutting edge. Like it's always super new. Like if you try to talk to ChatGPT or Claude 3.5 about like incredibly niche and new topics, it would also be limited. So at least that's something where we are doing good in this AI revolution. But yeah, it's definitely something that I think about a lot, and that's why I'm reading the alignment problem book. And everyone should kind of think about it. Hey, how can I live in a post AGI world, in a post ASI world? But also, I think some questions could be answered in our podcast. So I would recommend everyone to check out the interview that we did with Trent.
Yeah, I think we're listening today.
Nice.
One thing that I forgot to ask you, this was not part of the community questions, but I didn't get your PDUM.
My what?
Your PDUM.
Ah, my P Doom. Explaining just to everyone else, because I keep asking everyone when I'm on stage somewhere having a panel or the interview, what's your P Doom? And people are like, what the fuck? Why do you ask me this? So P Doom, for those that don't know, it's the probability of doom for humanity resulting from our AI advancements. My TP doom is 25%, but it's actually increasing the more I learn about crypto. The more I learn about AI, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. That's a decent number.
Yeah, I mean, most AI researchers, like people that are very familiar with the topic, they are around like 50-60%.
I
That's
know. That's right.
scares lots of people. Like the people that know the most, they are the most scared. And I'm like, damn. So yeah, I'm still quite optimistic with my 20%. But yeah, we should definitely think about it.
I agree. I agree. And you recommend the alignment, the book?
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, I'll try to find it and read it myself.
Or I'll give it to you at the next conference. I'm sure I'll finish it this week.
Okay. Uh, as always, thank you everyone for joining. Of course, the recording will be available on our YouTube channel in the live section. I think this was a very interesting and very enlightening discussion that we had with Marco today. Marco, I'm super happy to have you on the team with us. You're a very welcome addition to our team. I think you're doing great, and I'm super excited about what the future holds for us.
Happy to be here.
Okay, that was it for us. Bye everyone. Hope you'll have an amazing rest of the day.